Would you stop your luxury car if a little girl stood in the middle of the road and tried to sell you her house for just $5? That's exactly what happened to Ethan Walker, a powerful real estate mogul on his way to close the biggest deal of his career. But one unexpected encounter with a barefoot girl holding a rusted key shattered everything he thought he knew about success value and what truly makes a home. Her name was Lily. Her mother was dying, and the tiny shack she tried to sell wasn't just a pile of wood and metal. It held memories, secrets, and a truth Ethan had buried for years. What started as a simple offer turned into a journey of redemption, loss, and love that would challenge the very foundation of Ethan's empire. As bulldozers threatened to erase Lily's past, Ethan faced a life-altering decision: protect his fortune or save the soul of a child who reminded him what it meant to care. Stay with us, because by the end of this story, you'll realize that sometimes the smallest voices are the ones that change us forever. "Sir, would you buy my house? I need the money." Ethan Walker slammed the brakes on his Mercedes and stared out the window in disbelief. Standing on the side of a dusty road near El Paso, Texas, was a girl no older than 8. Her clothes were worn and patched, her sneakers falling apart, but her eyes shone with a determination that made him hesitate. "What did you say?" he asked, rolling down the window. "I'm selling my house," she said. "You can have it for $5. She held out a rusted key, her hand trembling but firm. Ethan shut off the engine. This had to be some kind of joke. He was in town for one reason only: to finalize a multi-million-dollar land acquisition for the Canyon View Resort, the crown jewel of his real estate empire. His attorneys were waiting for him at the hotel. The contracts were ready. All he had to do was sign. But something about this girl rooted him in place. "Where's your mom?" he asked. "She's sick. That's why I need the money." "And your dad?" "I don't have one." The girl's voice didn't crack, but Ethan felt a strange twist in his chest. He glanced at the dusty path behind her. There was no one around for miles. "What's your name, Lily?" "All right, Lily," Ethan said carefully. "Show me your house." She turned without a word and began walking down a dirt trail. Her sneakers scraped against the gravel in a rhythmic, lonely beat. Ethan hesitated only a moment before locking his car and following her. The path led to a collapsing shack made of warped wood and metal sheets. It barely looked like it could stand through the night. But when Lily pushed open the creaky door, what Ethan saw inside stopped him cold. Books, dozens of them, stacked to the ceiling. Torn notebooks filled with handwriting. A cot in the corner held a woman so thin she looked like she was fading into the bedsheets. "Mom," Lily said softly, "I brought someone. He wants to buy our house." The woman stirred and opened her eyes, green, tired, and sunken deep in her face. She tried to sit up but winced. "Lily, what did you do?" she asked, her voice a fragile whisper. "We need money for your medicine." Ethan stepped forward. "Ma'am, I'm Ethan Walker. Are you okay?" She didn't answer his question. Instead, she reached toward a notebook and pulled it close to her chest. Her lips were cracked, feverish. "I used to be a teacher," she rasped. "My name is Grace Mitchell." Ethan picked up one of the notebooks. The pages were filled with poetry, tight cursive spilling down the margins. On the first page, written in careful ink, were the words, "For Lily, my star in the dark." "You write poetry?" Ethan asked, stunned. "I write truth," she said. "About the schools, about the contracts, about the corruption." That word hit Ethan like a hammer. "I was fired," she added, "because I exposed how the district funneled money away from students. Fake bids, cheap materials, ghost companies." He froze. "What companies?" "Walker Educational Supplies, North Central Materials, all under the same umbrella." The notebook slipped from Ethan's hand. Those were his companies. He had signed those contracts without reading the fine print, without asking questions. It was just business until now. "Lily," he said, his voice shaky, "get your mom some water." When the girl stepped outside, Ethan moved closer. "When was the last time you saw a doctor?" "Months ago," Grace said. "Hospitals cost money. I don't have any left." "What do you want me to do?" "Take me to the hospital," she whispered. "And after that, take care of Lily. That's all that matters." Lily returned with a glass of muddy water. Ethan smelled it. Dirt, rust, desperation. "That's enough," he said. He scooped Grace into his arms. She weighed barely more than her daughter and nodded for Lily to follow. "Where are we going?" the girl asked. "To get your mom help." Then we'll figure out the rest. At the hospital, doctors rushed Grace into the emergency room. Ethan waited in silence, sitting next to Lily in the cold plastic chairs. She clutched the notebook of poems like it was her only anchor. 3 hours passed before his attorney, Mr. Carter, arrived, briefcase in hand. "Mr. Walker, we need your signature. Final demolition permits. Some old homes need to be cleared before construction." Ethan took the papers. On the first page was a map. He recognized the location immediately. It was where Lily's shack stood. "The demolition is scheduled for next week," Carter said. "Bulldozers are ready. Most families already left. And if I don't sign, we risk losing millions. Investors are getting restless." Ethan said nothing. "Give me 5 minutes," he muttered and walked into the hallway, phone in hand. "Rebecca," he said, calling his office. "I need everything you can find on a former teacher named Grace Mitchell. She worked in public schools here about 2 years ago. And pull every educational contract we signed in this region. I want full audits." "Sir, that'll take hours." "I've got time." Back in the waiting room, Lily was awake, still hugging her mother's notebook. "Can you read?" Ethan asked gently. "My mom taught me," she said. "She says words are like seeds. If you plant them in your head, they grow." "What are you reading?" "A poem about our house. She says even if it's small, it has love inside." Carter approached again. "Sir, we need that signature. If we don't move forward today, the project will be delayed." Ethan stared at the documents. "You know what he said? I'll read them tonight. You'll get my answer in the morning. Mr. Walker, tomorrow." The lawyer stormed off. Ethan remained, watching Lily trace the edges of the poem with her finger. He had built empires, signed deals worth millions, owned towers, estates, jets. But in this moment, none of that mattered. All he could see was a girl with a rusted key in her pocket, a notebook in her hands, and a home full of broken things that somehow still held more truth than any boardroom he'd ever sat in. And something deep inside him stirred. A memory, a name, a face in an old photograph from the notebook, one he thought he had forgotten. Was it possible? Could this little girl, this Lily, be connected to someone he had once loved like a brother? Someone who vanished without a trace. Someone Ethan owed far more than he ever repaid. But before he could speak, a doctor stepped out. "She's stable for now," the doctor said. "But she'll need strong antibiotics and at least a week of observation. Cost $20,000. I'll cover everything." "Are you family?" Ethan looked at Lily, her eyes fixed on him, full of fragile hope. "I'm a friend. We're sorry for interrupting the story at such an emotional moment, but tell us, would you have stopped for a girl like Lily on the side of the road? Do you believe second chances can change someone's life? If this story moved you even a little, please like the video and tap the heart. It helps us keep sharing stories that matter." That night, Ethan didn't sleep. The luxury suite he returned to felt too large, too cold, too far from the small broken house that had rattled his soul. Lily lay curled up on the hotel room floor, despite the king-size bed Ethan had prepared for her. She clutched the notebook of poems like it was oxygen. When he asked why she wouldn't sleep on the bed, she simply whispered, "I'm used to the floor." He ordered dinner. Lily ate slowly, almost painfully, chewing, as if afraid the food might vanish if she blinked. "Does your mom eat like this too?" Ethan asked. "She says I need it more," Lily said without lifting her eyes. "So she saves her food for me?" Ethan looked away. Shame burned in his chest. The next morning the call came. His assistant Rebecca had pulled the documents. Grace Mitchell, she confirmed, was fired for insubordination and slander. She submitted an official complaint against Walker Educational Supplies 2 years ago, claiming inflated pricing on school materials. What happened to the complaint? It was dismissed. Lack of evidence. But Ethan, "I've gone through the old invoices. She was right. Your company charged double for items. Cheap goods, high prices. Someone pocketed the difference." His grip tightened around the phone. "Who?" "The manager of educational procurement, David Kent." Ethan stared out the window. He remembered signing those contracts. He hadn't read them. He trusted Kent just as he trusted every other executive who whispered promises of profits. "Anything else?" he asked, voice low. Rebecca hesitated. "There's something odd. I found a photo of Grace in an old employee newsletter. She's standing with a man, Lucas Ramsey. Ethan froze. Lucas Ramsey. The name punched the air from his lungs. His childhood friend. The one who disappeared after college. The one Ethan used to call brother. They'd gone their separate ways. Ethan to the boardroom. Lucas to nowhere. He vanished. "You're sure?" Ethan asked. "Yes. And in the background of the photo, there's a baby. It's Lily." Ethan dropped the phone. In the silence that followed, Lily sat at the coffee table drawing with a broken crayon. She didn't look up when she said, "My mom told me stories about my dad. She said he was brave, but he trusted the wrong people." Ethan turned to her. "Did she ever tell you who those people were?" She nodded solemnly. "I think one of them was you." He didn't know what to say, but Lily didn't look angry, only tired. "My mom said, hating people is like drinking poison and hoping the other person gets sick." Ethan knelt in front of her. "Lily, I didn't know. About your dad, about any of this. I believe you," she said, "but you still have to fix it." That afternoon, Ethan returned to the hospital. Grace was pale but awake. She looked stronger and at the same time more fragile than ever. "You knew," he said. "You knew who I was the moment I stepped into your house." She didn't answer. "Why didn't you tell me?" Grace looked out the window. "Because your name doesn't change what you did. You signed the contracts. Your company buried my report." Lucas tried to stop it, and he died broke, humiliated, because he believed he could fight a system that had already sold its soul. "I didn't know," exactly, Grace said. "You didn't care to know, and now Lily pays the price." Ethan placed a box of files beside her hospital bed. "What's that?" she asked. "Everything. Every contract I signed. Every fraudulent invoice. I stayed up all night reading it all." Grace watched him for a long time, then finally said, "And what now?" "I fired Kent. I'm repaying every school we overcharged. I'm shutting down the educational supplies division. And I've decided not to build the resort." "You'll lose millions," she said. "I've already lost more than that," he replied. "I just didn't realize it." A nurse entered and asked Ethan to step outside for a moment. In the hallway, Mr. Carter was waiting, his expression stiff. "I just came from the site," Carter said. "There's been a mistake." Ethan's stomach dropped. "What kind of mistake?" "Your partner, Mr. Granger, signed off on an early demolition. The crews moved in this morning." Ethan's blood ran cold. No, I told them to wait. I gave no approval, I know. But Granger used his executive authority to override. The shack is gone, Ethan. Lily's home. It's rubble." Ethan rushed out of the hospital, his heart thudding. He drove straight to the lot. Dust hung in the air. The ground had been flattened, scraped clean. He got out of the car just in time to see a tiny figure walking slowly across the ruins. Lily. She bent down and picked up a scrap of painted wood, the shattered remains of a door. "This was my room," she whispered. Ethan walked toward her, but words failed. All he could say was, "I tried to stop it." Lily didn't cry. She didn't yell. She just sat down in the dirt and hugged the broken wood to her chest. "Are our things gone too?" she asked. I don't know. Maybe the workers moved them." "I'll find out." She shook her head. "It's not the stuff I miss. It's the stories. The soup nights. The way Mom made up songs while we cleaned the floor." He knelt beside her. "Lily, I'm sorry." She didn't look at him. "Some things," she said softly, "can't be fixed with money." That night, Ethan got a call from the hospital. "Mr. Walker," the nurse said, "Grace wants to see you. Urgently." When he entered her room, Grace was sitting up, more alert than before, but her hands trembled. "She saw it?" she asked. "She was there." Grace closed her eyes. "I knew it. I felt it. I tried to stop it, Grace." "I believe you," she said, "but I'm too tired to stay angry." He sat down beside her. "What can I do?" he asked. "Take care of her. Listen to her. Don't try to replace what she lost, just be someone she can trust." Ethan nodded. "I'll do everything I can." Grace gave him a tired smile. "I don't need everything. I just need enough." We know that was an intense chapter, and we're sorry for pausing here. But we'd love to know, do you think Ethan truly deserves forgiveness for what he's done? Would you tear down your empire if it meant saving one child? If this story moved you, please show your support by liking this video and tapping the heart. It means more than you know. The morning after the demolition, Lily was silent again. She didn't cry. She didn't ask questions. She just sat on the hotel room floor with her notebook of poems and the scrap of wood that used to be her bedroom door, staring into nothing. The weight of everything that had been taken from her was finally too much to speak against. Ethan didn't try to force words out of her. He just sat nearby reading one of Grace's poems aloud, in a soft voice, hoping the rhythm of the words might reach her. That afternoon, Ethan met with his legal team and signed the paperwork for temporary guardianship. The judge approved it faster than anyone expected. When Ethan told Grace later at the hospital, she simply closed her eyes and whispered, "Thank you." That same night, as Lily lay curled up under a blanket in the living room of Ethan's house, he asked, "Would you like me to read you something?" She nodded faintly. Ethan picked up the poem she'd been clutching all day. "This one's called Home Is Not a Place." "Want to hear it?" Lily whispered. "It's about us." He began to read, but halfway through she took the notebook from his hands. "I want to try." It was the first time she'd spoken in days. She read slowly, her voice unsure at first, but with every line something returned, a small glow, a flicker of the fierce girl who once tried to sell her house for $5. By the end of the poem, Ethan could barely breathe. The next morning he stood before a room full of angry shareholders. Men in suits threw accusations across the conference table, calling him reckless, emotional, unfit to lead. "You're ruining everything we've built," Mr. Granger barked. Over what? A shack and a sick woman, Ethan remained calm. "Over a girl who reminded me what we were supposed to be building in the first place. You'll bankrupt us, then sell your shares." "I'm not stopping." He stepped down as CEO that day and assumed a new title, Director of Ethics and Educational Reform. His first act was launching a full investigation into every school contract the company had ever touched. 3 executives were fired. 2 vendors were sued. Over $10 million were returned to underfunded schools. But Ethan wasn't finished. He used his personal savings to buy the land where Lily's home once stood. He didn't rebuild the shack. He built a park. At the center, beneath a tree planted with Lily and Grace's help, was a stone bench carved with words from one of Grace's poems. "You can bulldoze walls, but you can't demolish memories." When Grace was finally well enough to leave the hospital, Ethan brought her home. She stepped into his house, walked past the polished floors and grand staircase, and smiled when she saw Lily sitting cross-legged on the living room rug, drawing with crayons. "This is where we live now," Grace asked. "It's not perfect," Ethan said. "It's enough," she replied. Lily looked up. "Don't worry, Mom. We don't even use the dining table. We eat on the floor." One evening a month later, Lily asked Ethan, "Can I visit my old house?" Ethan looked at Grace. Grace nodded. They drove together at sunrise. Lily ran ahead barefoot on the grass of the new park until she reached the exact spot where her home once stood. She sat down and placed her hand on the ground. Ethan sat beside her. "Do you miss it?" "Yes," she said, "but I don't cry about it anymore." "Why not?" "Because you gave me something better. Not a bigger house, a safe one." She pulled a folded letter from her notebook. "It's from my dad," she said. "He wrote it before he died. My mom never gave it to me until after we lost the house." Ethan unfolded the paper with trembling fingers. In shaky handwriting it read, "To my little star Lily, if you ever feel lost, remember the world still has people with light. One day someone good will come and find you. Trust him. He'll look nothing like an angel, but he'll save you anyway." Lily smiled. "I think he meant you." Ethan couldn't speak. That night, Lily stood on stage in her school's poetry recital. The auditorium was packed. Grace sat in the front row now, working full-time as the program director for Ethan's new education foundation. Ethan sat beside her, clutching Lily's newest poem in his hands, afraid he'd cry before she even began. When it was her turn, Lily walked slowly to the microphone. Her dress was blue, sewn by Grace. Her voice was clear. "This poem is for my dad in heaven, for my mom beside me, and for my new dad who didn't have to stay, but did." She paused. "It's called The House That Couldn't Be Demolished." She read, "I once had a house with no locks, no carpet, no comfort, just stories and soup. And when it crumbled, I thought I'd be lost. But I found a new place with no holes in the roof but hearts full of patches. I was scared I wouldn't be loved, but they held me, and they listened, and they stayed. Now my house is not made of walls, but of two people who didn't give up, and that I've learned is the kind of house no storm can tear down. The room fell silent. Then came thunderous applause. As they drove home that night, Lily curled up in the back seat and asked, "Do you think my dad heard me?" Ethan looked in the rearview mirror and said softly, "I think he's been listening the whole time." We hope this story stayed with you as much as it stayed with us. But now we want to hear from you. Do you believe love can rebuild what the world tears down? What do you think matters more? What we build or who we become? How do you feel about this story? Comment number 3 if you loved it, number 1 if you think it could be better, and number 2 if it was just okay. Also, tell us what country you're watching from. We love knowing our stories travel the world. Please remember to like, tap the heart, and share this story with someone who needs a little hope today.